Welcome back to the Reality Guys. I'm your host, Billy Bliggs, joined as always by my co-host, Brian,
What's going on, everybody?
and awesome special guest, contestant, and winner of the Trust, a Game of Greed from Netflix, Julie Theis. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So, yeah, I mean, right off the bat, congratulations. Like I said, not only a contestant, but a winner. So, I mean, how did it feel? I mean, I know it had to be, it was definitely for yourself a stressful experience. But how did it feel to win? And frankly, and then we'll get into it. How has it been like with your like immediate friends and family? How did they react to everything?
Yeah, it's right away when it happened in the house, like I still up until that moment where the Tolu was the last person to reveal her card, like I think I looked towards Jake and I literally mouthed, I'm like, I'm scared. Because I was just like in 1 second, one person's vote could we're almost all so close it could take it away from me. And so I remember when she finally said like we're gonna share, I was like, oh damn. Wow. Oh my God. Speechless. It was cool rewatching it because I felt like the same nervousness and excitedness and oh my God. Oh
It's
my God.
amazing.
My life's gonna change.
Right, because the,
As
the
far as
elimination was right there.
hmm?
I'm saying like because you were saying like the elimination, like she was going to decide how the game was going to end pretty much when you guys all said share. So totally get
Yeah. And we had things like between like Tolu and I are very close now. We were close in the house, but like I even said it in the last episode, it was like we were either gonna be best friends or worst enemies. I'm like, we've been both. So I was worried at to the last second that I was like, what if Tolu like votes me out and I have to trust her and
I
all of that.
said that in our finale review. I said I almost a sick part of me, not for you specifically, but I wish they had allowed people to kind of on the fly make the decision. But she's the last person. She can go, I could just take somebody out. Like I could just increase my cash right there.
That was the thing too, is like Tolu was also the first one in the vault. Like
Okay.
the part that you guys didn't see is how we decided the vault thing is they had us redo the lineup game.
it.
And
Oh,
yeah, so another mess. The lineup game was interesting, but one of the questions that they had, it was like who here has grown the most in the house, and like I think I was like the first one for that one, and then Tolo was like somewhere right next to me or down the line a little bit. And then it was like who here has had like the hardest journey here in the house, and Tolu and Jake, as per usual, walks himself up to the front of the line, and Tolu put herself first, Jake put himself second. I put myself third, and then it was like Brian and Gasper somewhere. So that, and then they stopped. They're like, this is the order you're going to be going into the vault. So the last vault offer was the whoever bids the most, that's who gets it. So technically, like that was another for me thinking about going into the vault. I was like, oh well, like Tolu might have already even taken this money. Like,
I mean, I kind of feel the same way, honestly. Um, who do you think's the smartest person on the show? Kidding, kidding, come back to it.
No, I've actually I was talking about this today. You know what? I still think it would I still think it would be me first.
Good.
But second, I actually think it would be Gasper. Or like Gasper maybe sometimes like ahead of me. Gasper does not get enough credit. He like gets it on such even like a social intelligence level. Like anytime Gasper and I have had conversations, especially outside of the house, if I've like he really gets it. Like the underlying everything, he's very intelligent. Casper's really smart.
Smartest thing Gasper did, and we kind of talked to him about this, was you didn't really see Gasper much in the first few episodes because he didn't fight with anybody. He just hung out. You didn't have to worry about it. And that honestly is frankly smart, right? And that in this game where it only takes one vote to be eliminated, it's very easy to just upset one person and your days are numbered. Um, all right. I want to get in. There's a plenty of things about the game that we can get into, but frankly, I kind of want to talk about like the aftermath of the game. I want to kind of talk about the reaction online, the coverage online. Even if you're going to take our channel as a microcosm, you can see in the comment section, crazy active, pretty toxic, but a lot of varying opinions. So one, how do you kind of feel about that? Like what has your experience been so far, like positively and negatively? And secondly, do you feel like it's an accurate depiction of like how rough it may have been in the house, or do you think it's way more exaggerated since the show's been released?
Yeah. I mean, it's been crazy. Like I've gotten so much hate. I would say Tolu and I easily, you can see it very clearly that Tolu and I have gotten the most hate. Some of it's really interesting. I think there are a ton of threads of like sexism in it, where we are just getting it so terribly. Like even for like Jake and I's relationship, Jake has not once been like scrutinized. Even inside of the house, he was like encouraged and supported by the guys for having like a romantic connection with myself. He was never like, you're betraying us, you're not a guy's guy, like you're getting too close with Julie. Where meanwhile, it was all of a sudden like, I'm not a girl's girl. Honestly, like slut shaming of myself. Like when our relationship was very innocent, we also went the whole entire, we almost lived together for a month and we kissed at the very end.
At the very
So to
end, yeah.
experience that, number one, I experienced that inside the house from the women, but I've also experienced it on the internet that because I had me as a woman had a romantic connection with a man, that means I'm a pick me. I was obsessed. I'm stupid. I can't see. Like I have no strategy. All of these things that like Jake has not been subjected to for having a relationship with me. And so that's been something really hard because it's also not like even close to my personality. Even like if I think about myself in a romantic aspect and like my attachment style, like I'm a very, which is also an issue, but I'm a very like avoidantly attached person. So seeing that just, and to just be like hated, I think as well, like Jake got it maybe a little bit for walking himself to the front of the line, which he did in multiple categories, even categories. I think there was like one that got left out that he also did it in the show. But because I put myself first, that means I'm stupid. How could she? So for me, a lot of the hate feels like, like God forbid already, you are a confident, outspoken, and like beautiful woman, and God forbid that you're there saying that you are. And so that's a lot too. It's like, you're not as hot as you think you are. You're not as smart as you think. It's just like any way to like knock me down. Yeah, which I just don't see happening as much on the male side.
No, I don't think you're being unfair about that at all. Brian, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, are you getting all any of these interactions in person, or are these all like on the internet? Like, no one's saying this to your face.
No, yeah, all
Everyone's saying it behind. Yeah, yeah. It's
And that's
terrible.
kind of why my first question was more how are your friends and family reacting to it? Like they know you, right? I mean, it's probably hard for them to see that as well, right? It's just, I think the level of unnecessary hate towards you, because frankly, what could someone say at the end of the day you did outside of the Jake situation? I guess we could touch on Bryce, right?
Well, that's even when I like watch it back because like I didn't, I'm not even mad at like Netflix or even like the edit. I didn't think I had a villain edit. I'm
No.
like, sure, there's things I say that
No.
are like sassy, funny. I'm definitely like outspoken. I be just saying things.
Hmm.
However, I didn't do anything mean. Did I lie? Yeah. I was playing a game. I was trying to
Right.
play a
Exactly.
strategic game. Did I deceive? Yeah, I did. And I said that I did. I never once was like, I never lie. I own my shit. Like I was like, I even said that. I was like, I would never be saying that about myself. But other than that, I'm like, I wasn't mean.
The Bryce stuff, like, so I thought that was funny. I thought it was very melodramatic thing. We did disagree with the opinion that you're less deserving to be on a show if you have money because we just want good game players. We ended up agreeing with you guys because he wasn't a good game player, so we kind of were like, well, let's get rid of this kid. He's not doing the right thing. But any like what like thinking back on that now, like do you kind of just stand by it? Do you think like you shouldn't have rich people on the reality shows, or was it that you think it was that guy specifically? Like I'm just genuinely curious.
I think what the word I should have used the whole time when I was speaking was need versus deserve.
Yeah.
There could be an argument
Yeah.
that none of us are deserving being on a game
It's a good way to put
that you're gonna get like $20,000 and I'll share. Like that's not a
it.
human right, you know? So
Yeah.
it's like, even who are any of us to be like, I deserve this? What? So in some ways, like none of us just are deserving. I guess you could say we were all equally deserving because we were given this opportunity. But what it came down for me was need. And even watching it back, and Bryce saying, like, I have this watch on and it's a couple $100,000. I'm like, you're wearing the prize money on your wrist. And so for me, it was always upsetting in the house for him to go, well, it's not about the money for me. It's not about the money for me. But I'm like, but the show is about money.
Yeah.
It's for me. And I even say that, I'm like, if it's not, then how about you keep your experience? We'll go the whole time in the house. You can have the experience and then at the end leave. Cause you
I'm going
just
to
said,
vote you out at the end.
yeah,
Cool.
you said leave. And
I
I'm
like
like,
that.
and there's a part of me too that like the bratty part of me, I'm like, if you want an experience, then like check out summer camp. There's other places to like have experience, but I'm like, I need this money. Like I left my job for this. I don't have like I didn't have family to like go back home to. And so all of that you can say, and I'm getting a lot of heat for that belief, which I understand. But I also was like, I'm willing to play a deceptive game because of the need that I have for it. And Bryce was like, even at then, he's like, I still will not vote anyone out. And you could say that's very maybe courageous of his character
That's
to not
dumb.
vote, but it shows it wasn't as strong of a need.
You're on a game to vote people out.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, frankly, like Gasper kind of had a similar story. He resigned from his teaching job to come work. I feel like that would have been really useful information as a viewer to know, like, oh, these people are playing for keeps because they literally don't have anything to go back to right now, hypothetically. Like, it's so, they filled into some, but I do think, and look, and I think it's admirable. You can't say it, like, I do think in a way you did kind of get a little bit of a villain edit. I mean, they definitely showed you getting pushed down by the Girls Alliance. They were showing that you weren't trying to, you did get played. They did make it look like you were more worried about a relationship, maybe versus winning a game. But I feel like, and I guess I'm going to ask you, in your head, percentage wise, like how much of it for you was playing a game versus doing, the social experience? Like someone like Brian, who was really into the experience and then maybe a little less into the game. How did you feel when you were there? Were you just treating it always like a game from the beginning, or how did it feel?
So we didn't know like what the show was. None of us did when we came in, but I had a feeling because they asked me so much in my casting interviews about my past and my childhood and all that. Also, that's another thing that people are saying. They're like, oh, she was talking about her victim story, all of this. I'm like, I got asked to, I'm like, I just told the truth. I'm like, that's just
Yeah.
my story. I'm sorry. But I'm like, there's also so much that they cut out. I'm like, they put it in there because it's true and it's compelling. And anyways, that's a side note. But I got asked so many questions about my past and money and our beliefs around it. So I had a feeling I was like that money or a competition aspect might be involved. So when I remember being in the hotel and I was like keep your head in the game. I have a very side, like it really shows me in the show of kind of, going through this like character arc and
Yeah.
softening up. And part of that was true, but I'm like, I am like that in my real life because I'm when I'm able to, like I can be compassionate and empathetic if I'm not in survival mode. So for me, but I've had many times in my life where I have been in survival mode. And so like I remember being in the hotel being like, you have to throw everything out of your brain and like you need to go into survival mode. Like this is just remember, like you don't, whoever is here with you, like you don't owe them anything. You have to think about yourself. Cause I do know myself, like my natural tendency is to be empathetic and caring. So I was just like, you need to focus. And then when I went in there, that was my gameplay. I was like, I want people out of the house. I want more money. I really did think at the end it was going to be like me and the girls because I didn't think I could get there alone and I didn't want to. I immediately was like,
Yeah.
okay, we're gonna, and that is what happened is, which I think is, I've heard some other people's interviews and I think they play it off in very weird justifications and like just won't really admit that we were there to play a game. And there were so many conversations that flat out said that we had in that house. But what ended up happening for myself is I did start to like feel bad for what we were doing, because I'm not a terrible person, but it was like more so my relationship with like Brian was a huge one for me. Like they didn't really show that, but I realized like Brian and I had a lot of experiences of trauma. And for me, I was like, all these boys are so stupid. They're just like, kumbaya, oh, the world's black and white. We can all make it through. We're all a family. I'm like, you guys are stupid. Like you do not understand how the world works. Like you must be in such a privileged state where you can view the world as all this sunshine and rainbows. And so I was like, no, like I'm not sharing the money with dumb people either. And then it's like, then I got to know Brian and I was like, oh, okay, he's had things happen to him. Like Bryce couldn't have gotten me to see that because it's like, you don't get it. With Brian, I was like, you have had experiences where you could choose to see people like I do and be untrusting of them, and you still choose to see the good. And I did start to have a different experience where like when I was with the girls, we were strategizing and being like bitchy and kind of evil and all this. And then I would hang out with Brian and I was like, damn, like this, like he's making me want to be a better person. And so that's another thing is on the show, they really make it be like, I'm so in love with Jake. And like Jake and I did have a romantic connection. I was kind of like, you know, if he goes home, who am I going to flirt with? Like that would be boring for me as well. But it was like I was developing a real relationship with Brian. Like Gasper and I are very close, like especially now after the show. And I was like, he has kids and like Lucy, we're like Lucy Goosey and Gasper. Like I know his kid's name. I'm like, how can I vote him out? And that was one of the big things that did lead up to the fight between the women is, you know, Winnie found herself in the position of like someone has to go home. But the part they flat out asked me like, okay, well, if you're not going to vote for Jake, then you're voting for Brian and Gasper. And I was like, I won't. And that's where I did stand. And then with Jake, it was kind of like harder because I was like, if I say like, I also feel bad for voting Jake out, then it was just so turned into this, it's because you're in love with him, instead of being like, well, actually, it's just not day one in the house. And now I kind of like, I feel bad.
Right. You got to play your own game. Like you started to play your own game and no one can fault you for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So some of it was gameplay. Like I am looking back on it, I am glad like in the beginning we went in like guns a-blazing because I wouldn't have been able to make those hard choices at the end. And those beginning choices where I was more in that survival mode and you don't know people as much, that benefited me in the long run to get more money. So it's hard because it is strategy. It is a game. You want to take out the humanness of it, especially when you're making cutthroat decisions so that you don't feel bad. But on the other hand, like we're not just pawns and game pieces and strategy pieces. And in the fight with the girls and you hear me say that, was like the fact Winnie keeps talking about strategy. To me, also, that made me not want to align with them because I was like, damn, we're this far in and that's still what these people are. And I was like, how we're not going to make it to the end and you're going to see like my humanness and see me as anything more than like someone you can cut, is how I felt. She says she still wouldn't, but that's how I was looking at the situation. I was like, if you're willing to talk about these people in that way, how am I any different to you?
You were never the number one for any of the alliances, right? So you had to kind of go wherever it was safer at the time. I definitely don't fault you for that. As far as being safe, and it's something I just want to bring up because we've kind of talked about it throughout the show, but the relationship with Jake, kind of where does that stand post show? I know people are curious. I know there are a bunch of different interviews and things, and some may be different than others. And besides that, frankly, do you regret the relationship?
Jake and I aren't together. Currently, that's where that lies. As far as if I regret it, I don't inside of the house because even though like Jake and I had real chemistry in the house, and it was advantageous also to my gameplay, even though there was real attraction, but there was also an advantage piece to that. So yeah, I don't regret it inside of the house. It ended up being to my benefit, but it was something that I always thought was interesting. And like, I wanted to say that on the show, but I was like, I don't want to look like super manipulative, but even when, you know, the girls are yelling at me in the room and you see, like, I'm pretty calm. I'm not like triggered at them screaming in my face that like, he doesn't like me and even
like, okay.
That is one thing, like the editing really makes that look like that, but like Jake would like gush about me in his interviews. Like he was very like, it was me like who pumped the brakes on that. And he was like, when you give the green light, like I'm all for it. And so we didn't even kiss him like until the last episode. So the whole internet's like, she's obsessed. I'm like, there's like 50 opportunities for it to be something else.
It could have been something else. Right.
But I always thought it was interesting. And they're like, you know, he's playing you. And I'm like, I don't need him to like propose to me at the end of this. Like, that's not what we're competing for. I just need to make sure he doesn't vote me out. I just need to make sure that he trusts me and doesn't think I'm the one voting, because I also was. That was another part of like the advantage of like Jake saw me in such a like, that's the halo effect, especially when you are attracted to someone, you're going to see them in better light. I was lying, manipulating, playing the game. And the conversations you don't see is like after those votes, when I was the one who voted, Jake and I would like talking. He's like, you're the only one in the house that I trust. You're like,
even though you're just
also, this is why I got so mad in the voting game or in the lineup game, was because he was like, his things didn't make sense, but I was like, you can't even see like when people are lying to you, dude. Like, what do you mean? And he's like, you're the only one I like trust in the house. I know you're not lying. And so it was like because of his romantic feelings, like I had this halo effect. And he was like, but I think those girls are voting. But that's the other thing that the girls missed is like I also had their back. I was like, it's not them. I was like, those are my girls. They would never vote. They told me that they weren't voting, and they obviously told me that they were. And so I was like pinning the like scapegoat on other people. So I'm like, I was also like simultaneously protecting the girls, even as much as they want to say I'm not a girl's girl. They like why the way that after the first table, everyone was like, we're gonna cull the herd, we're gonna get the poison out of the house, all this. Like, do you recognize in the second episode, everyone's like, oh, we forgot about it. I was like, I don't know who it is, but it's not the girls. They told me. Like, that's interesting.
Would you ever do reality TV again?
Yeah, I would.
I love that. Your first person that has just been like, yeah, definitely.
Full blown, yeah. What would you be? What would you do? Or would be interested in?
Or oh, what would I like do for
Like,
a show?
what kind? Do you like reality TV? Like any shows you're into?
No, I'm not like a TV person. I didn't
Okay.
own TV for a really long time. But I like the ones that I have watched is like Project Runway, which I couldn't do because I can't sew, and like
Yeah.
MasterChef, which I couldn't do
Tough
because I
one.
can't cook. But I
Tough
like
one,
I
too.
like watching them. I would definitely do another competition one. If it was like another like psychological competition. I would do a dating one if they asked me to.
You can
Would
try to
you
get
ever
on the
do?
mole. That's a
Yeah,
Netflix one.
the
That's kind of
mole. The mole's a
mole. You
good
should try
one.
that one.
That's on Netflix.
I would do them all.
Yeah.
You could do like you have like Love Is You could do The Circle.
Nah, that one's
Yeah,
boring.
that one.
Like once I couldn't get into that one. I think I haven't seen Traders, but I keep being like told about Traders or like
That's a good show.
Traders
going
is a good show. We covered both of those, the UK version and the US. The show like, we don't cover it as much, but like a Big Brother is a show where you could go and you kind of just go and like live, so it's not like super complicated.
Yeah, I never watched Big Brother either, but I hear
Yeah,
about
did you
it.
enjoy being with people like 18 hours a day, whatever? Like Big Brother's 24 hours a day. So if you
I
didn't like that, you probably would not like Big Brother.
I really thought I would have a problem with it because I am alone a lot.
Yeah,
And I live alone and like don't speak to people. And
I feel you.
I thought I would have a big issue with it, but I actually like I was really sad like coming home and I was like, oh, there's no one to like talk to. Like maybe I am lonely in my I have friends. It's either like an all or nothing for me. Like
No, I
yeah, I have
get you.
a ton of friends and we go out and I'm around people constantly in that regard, but me at my home, like it's just me. So I kind of did. I missed. It was kind of nice. You like wake up and also like you don't have like work.
Yeah,
Like
that's always nice.
I love not having my phone. Like no one could bother me. No one knew where I was. Like no social media. There's no distractions besides human connection. So in some
Makes
ways,
sense.
it's a really cool reset to be like human again.
No, I think that makes a ton of sense. Brian, anything else? I think I got everything.
I know you said like you're friends with a lot of people. Is there anybody you still talk to like on a daily basis? Like meet up, you're gonna like go see them? Any of those
Toto
things?
and I are super close, and especially because we both have gotten like so much hate together. We really like have leaned on each other during this time. But I'm really close, like Gasper still and Brian. But I would say that, at least like for me, I'm on good terms with everyone. There's no one I would be like not speak to if we were in the same room together.
Wells probably hates all you guys.
We saw him in LA, and I should have probably addressed it. Like I should have probably been like, "Oh, sorry," but I was like, "Hi."
He's like, oh, it's you.
Yeah, we were at the Squid Game like party in LA, and okay. Here's the thing too. We like Jewels. Like Jewels
Just joking.
fun. He's a good guy. Like he was super fun, but he had sloppy gameplay. He went into the house and like we thought he was lying. We just didn't know about what. But Jewels, like we still like him.
Yeah,
And
no, we get it. We get it.
like you are making snap judgments, and anyone who thinks like you're not based on how someone's hair looks and what they're wearing and all like
Of course.
all of it. So not bad gameplay. We liked him.
Okay, man.
I don't know.
Somebody's got to go first.
We get it. We totally get
Somebody's got to go first.
Yeah, somebody's got to go.
Yeah, that's it. Julie, is there anything going on social media? Anything you got going on? People want you to find you, see what's going on with you?
You can follow me on Instagram at Julie Theis Official, and you can follow my TikTok at Julie Theis.
Cool. Yeah, we'll throw it in the descriptions for sure. Julie, congratulations again. Remember all the hate, you're a winner. So
Yeah.
they're shooting up.
Thank
So
you.
don't worry about it. Yeah, stay in touch. Any shows, anything you're into, keep us in the loop, and we'll do the same.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, we
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Julie.
Bye.
Bye.